Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. I'm Javier Pineda of Chile, representative of the Latin American Alliance for Youth. Regarding the previous statements, let me start with something essential in the discussion on the post-2015 agenda. Let us learn from the previous mistakes so as not to be in a position where we are going to regret these 15 years. As Agnes mentioned, there should be clear objectives, indicators, and monitoring. Nevertheless, how can we do this when we have a hegemony which is maintained thanks to exclusion? And so let us speak clearly. While we talk about protecting human rights, the problems referred to by Iran, which are measures of the IMF and World Bank, do the exact opposite. Because instead of supporting human rights, what's important for them is to pay the creditors, discarding people's rights. While we seek alliances with all stakeholders, or as the representative of Germany mentioned, a new social contract, including multinational companies, we seem to forget that these are the main sources of precarious labor which absorb a large part of our resources. In a system based on accumulation and competition, there is a contradiction which we cannot ignore. Every dollar that business people accumulate in their Forbes fortunes, often in tax havens, is a dollar which is not being used to protect the human rights of our people. As we say in economics, it is opportunity cost economics. When we speak of the agenda and we say that, as the Maldives said, no one should be left behind, we have to end the aberrant situation of inequality among and between countries, for we will not make progress in development if 1%, just 1% of the population has over 30% of the world's wealth. If we want a comprehensive alliance, including the private sector, this sector must be willing to shed its privileges. If it is committed to development and human rights, it must be willing to pay proper salaries to support the human rights of workers, to form unions, to negotiate collectively, and to exercise the right to strike. If they want to be socially responsible as businesses, it cannot be at the expense of tax exemptions. Failure to look at this serious inequality is the chronicle of death foretold, as Garcia Marquez said. We're aware that the development agenda cannot solve all the problems of the world because the document doesn't change reality. It is people that change reality and build their own history. And yet, this is a great opportunity indeed. So what do we propose? An agenda which recognizes in its targets, goals, and indicators the centrality of human rights and of the human being, so that ultimately this will be one that recognizes us as the owners of our own lives. How should this be reflected? First, to recognize the power and rights we have over our bodies, especially when it comes to our sexuality. Let us be pro-life. Let us guarantee the right to decide against death and to decide so that we do not die. Let's ensure that the social and collective rights needed to develop a community life. The right to education and work should not be granted only because we want qualified workers, but because education allows us to think and act in society and to change it. While work dignifies us as individuals, it is also the true source of wealth. Acknowledging what's contained in the targets, goals, and indicators, the SDGs have to be a roadmap guiding activities of our countries. To this end, youth and civil society must be acknowledged as key factors. Their participation in the implementation and monitoring of this agenda must be guaranteed. This message may sound harsh, but the reality of millions of people in the world is much harsher than whatever I can say with these few words. Thank you.
Gracias a usted, señor Pineda, por